I'm Dustin Ratzlaff,
And I'm Matt Ramage.
and you're watching Before the Dust Settles.
Today we have Nicole Ens on the show. She's a wedding photographer, a travel junkie, I would say, very transient. We invited her on the show. I admire her very much. Dustin's meeting her for the first time today.
She's a business hustler. She does many weddings within the course of a year. I'm really surprised with what she has accomplished in such a short period of time.
And she blows my mind away with like her age and her accomplishments. I know
Her work's incredible.
and her work's incredible. So yeah, we'll talk today a little bit about her accomplishments, what makes her tick, and sort of her journey as a pro, and some of the fears, I would say, that she's got about growth.
Yes, so watch.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You kind of chatted a little bit already, but I wanted to invite you to chat about your life. I find it very interesting. Like, you're 22, not even like this week or
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So, considering how your life's panned out to this point, are you happy?
Oh my gosh, this is getting deep really quick. Yes, you know what? I am. I'm pretty proud of the opportunities that have been given to me already in my life, and yeah, I'm happy. Sorry, this is like so intense already.
I know,
I love it. I love it.
I like that you're being quite modest here. Right? The opportunities have been given to me, but like you've clearly earned a lot on your own. We were just taking a scroll through your Instagram feed, and like I'm not saying that like your work is defined by your Instagram feed, but there's a lot of beautiful work in there, and a lot of work in different locations.
I do like to travel. Yes. It's like I feel like I've made that a priority in my life. So, yeah.
Well, that's actually what kind of inspires me, is like you have used photography to enable you to have a life where you get to travel, and like your lifestyle is very like you've taken it into your own hands, which I admire, like especially for your age. Like at your age, I mean, I got married at age 21. Like
That's young.
Yeah, so like, you know, and then so my path has been different. Like you've used photography and been successful at it to travel, like, and I don't know, I guess just make that life of your own. What's a good question, I guess?
Well, like you're creating a bit of like a feedback loop, like where like you get to travel creates opportunities for photography, which allows you to continue to travel and creates new opportunities for photography.
Yeah.
You know, like Matt and I've had these conversations a few times where we're both like, we have mortgages. Mortgages is like a big anchor, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but so Matt's built like home base here, which is like a beautiful studio.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. So
Yeah.
like as you grow, like what are you like as far as professionally? Are you growing like your portfolio? Are you what are you specifically like? Are you trying to grow anything specifically, or is it?
Yeah, and I feel like that's
How
a
do you
really
measure
good
it?
question, because if I like analyze my life for the past few years, it has been so transient, and I think there's pros and cons to that. A pro being, you know, moving around from like house to house the past few years, it's enabled me to, you know, save money on rent and like own a minimal amount of stuff, which allows me to travel, and it makes it easy to just get up and go. And because of wedding photography being so seasonal, it enables me to have that time to like go and travel and experience other things. But a con of being transient is, I don't have a home base always, and I'm always coming and going, and so that means coming and going with work, but also with like relationship and friendships and stuff like that. So I don't know. But as far as what I'm building, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. you know, and
Do you feel pressure to figure it out?
less so right now.
Like, what do your parents think about what you do?
No, they're really supportive. Yeah. I think, yeah, they are supportive because, well, my dad is very business minded, and he sees that I've taken what I'm interested in and been able to like provide for myself financially, and I think he sees that and he's quite proud of it. And I don't know, my mom's like, yeah.
Which they
Go Nicole.
Moms are great that way. Yeah.
But
I think that's, we were also having a conversation about that earlier. It's like, it's not that common that people that are creative are also able to be sensible when it comes to business. Not to say that they always do a terrible job of it, but there's a lot of, I think, things that can be missed sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with a high season, which is like, what's your wedding season?
like May through October, I guess.
And I would assume almost every weekend
Yeah.
you're shooting. So it's a lot of communications, a lot of invoicing, a lot of coordinating.
Yeah.
And you have to do that, but you also have to be creative and find unique things to do every time and show up and do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, yeah, it can be difficult to balance, or even like, I have days where I'm like, okay, today's gonna be like a brain day, like an admin day, and today's gonna be like a creative, like editing, playing around, messing around day. And I really have to like switch from like the different parts of my brain to be able to focus in on like specific tasks that require different aspects of like the way my mind works. I don't know, maybe you find that too, or maybe not. Maybe you can just do it all like
No,
seamlessly.
if I seem like I have it together, I don't. I just, like, I figured out a few things that I'm like really leaning on certain things, and like, yeah. Like I watched this TV show, it was on the weekend, and it was just a line that I really liked. The kid was disadvantaged, and he's like, we don't know what you know, so we don't move like you move. And I was just thinking about like, there's so much, and so this was like, it doesn't really matter the context, but it was just a disadvantaged kid. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you can pick up a lot of things in your life. Like you said, your dad is business minded. And
Yeah.
like somewhere in there that rubbed off. Like I didn't know how to do bookkeeping, and like, so now I'm like catching up on those kind of things. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and managing, and I don't know, like certain things I'm really good at. Like I know how to manage my photos and workflow, but
Yeah.
the admin day, like, man,
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to do more of that and stuff.
Yeah.
Like at your age, like that's, like I said, I admire what you're doing, and it's just like at your age, like if you're where you are now, it's like when you're like in 10 years, like what
I hope
could it
so,
be?
though. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I get a little bit freaked out of like, what if you just stop growing? I don't know. Like not growing as in like, you know, financially, but just even like in skills and abilities. I think that's something that kind of, if anything, that's the thing that freaks me out the most, is like a lack of personal growth or creative growth or business growth even.
So I always think about you guys as photographers being tasked with doing two things over and over again: an engagement shoot and a wedding. And I think there's probably expectations, and there's probably creative directors, aka mother-in-laws or brides, that have ideas as far as what kind of shot that they want. And I assume, and I get that you guys have to be a little bit more careful with this, the way that you answer this, than I would be, but like, I would assume like sometimes you hear like the things that they would like, and you're like, your eyes want to roll back into the back of your head, and you're like, I've only done that shot 500 times before.
Yeah.
And like in their mind, it's like, I saw it one time and I thought it was magical, and I just want that so badly. And I'm just curious, like, how you guys, like, I would assume that when you talk about like, how do you remain like creatively engaged, and how do you continue to grow while maintaining your business, which requires you to do and work with the creative director that's going to do this one time and saw a couple photos that they really liked that you have shot a million times.
Well, I think that's an area where like I've been honest with people about the fact that, okay, there is an art and creative aspect to wedding photography. There is. But I've also come to understand that it's a business and it's a service, and my priority is meeting my clients' expectations. And I would hope that they would be hiring me based off my portfolio that they like and that they want for themselves too, you know? So, but it's also like, I would much rather make them happy with that pose, even if it, you know, even if it bores me, or even if in my head I'm like, okay, maybe that's not the best thing to do right now, but like their like happiness and ability to please them in that moment is more important than like my creative expression, because I have other areas of my life that I'm able to express myself creatively and artistically, which is what I do like in off season or in my spare time, and what you might have seen like on my other Instagram. I have like 2 Instagrams, my wedding one and all my other stuff. So.
Yeah. So are you able to do that, like especially during busy season when every weekend you're shooting weddings?
I think busy season is prioritizing weddings for sure. I'm able to do some fun shoots like once in a while, but I'm kind of switch into wedding work mode when the workload is heavier, so yeah.
Cool. So any other kind of paid work that you've done, or is it mostly weddings so far?
I'd say mostly weddings, yeah.
Because you've worked with Jeannie.
Yeah, we're teaching a little bit.
A few times? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to slowly transition from my personal work that is more like fashion focused, portraiture focused, slowly transitioning to see that bring in a few more like paid gigs, but it's mostly weddings for sure. Yeah, which is great. I love weddings still. So.
Is there anything that intimidates you about doing that other kind of work?
I think it's like a whole other world that's pretty difficult to understand, and there's less of a community that's able to like give tips and share, and I don't know, I feel like I gained so much of my knowledge of how to run a wedding business based off of like Facebook communities, Facebook groups, and just talking with other people that were doing the same thing as me, whereas like that world, it's a little bit trickier to understand.
Everybody's tight-lipped on
yeah
commercial stuff, and I think just the volume of people doing it is like also like compared, like if you look up wedding photographer, like someone did like a search, it was like 200 or 300 around Saskatoon. Like,
crazy.
Like 1 for every 1,000 people or something. I don't know what the number was, but
yeah,
it's like, yeah. And then the commercial side is like, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was like, I don't really feel like, I think it was my dad. He's like, do you have a lot of competition with commercial work? And I was like, I don't actually feel that. Like, like, you know, I share the studio with Dave Stobie, and yeah, we're kind of competition, but like there's so much work, and there's not, like if my customer's in a pinch, like it's actually hard for me to like recommend someone who's available.
Why is that? Is it just you have to be more organized, or the communication level, like the expectations for flexibility or communications is higher? Or?
Yeah, why is that? I'm actually really curious.
I don't know. Like my guess is like, so there's a huge difference of like a commercial shoot, especially like more of like a vanilla one, let's say for like a bigger corporation, like you're more service, like you're sort of just help to get a good shot. You're not even picking what the good shot is necessarily. Like I would say it's like a wedding with someone giving you a Pinterest board. It's just a commercial shoot with like, they're just literally going to like iStock photo and giving you really good photos to go from. Like it's ridiculous, because it's like, here's what we want. And it's like, well, okay, well. Yeah. And then you got to like turn it into like, what can I make with their budget, and then their models. Like usually that's like, oh, they showed me a bright, full floor to ceiling window with like a black person, an Asian, a white person, half female, half male. Like it was beautiful, and they're all fit and skinny. None of, you know, they have diversity in culture, but not diversity.
Nobody's wearing skate shoes, black skate shoes at the wedding.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
I'm sure that doesn't happen that often, but have you guys ever seen that?
Oh, weddings are always, it's Saskatchewan. It's like a rodeo. It's like, you'll get one guy who looks bomb, and then the one guy that's wearing his jeans and his, like, I might outdress some people at weddings in what I'm wearing now. So
for sure. for sure.
Yeah, that commercial world is like a bit different, and I think
I feel like I've never been interested in like commercial photography just because it's so heavy on the technical side, and I've never been fascinated by like the technical side of photography. It's always been like, ooh, what's like the emotion and the, you know, how can I express myself creatively in this image and blah blah blah. And like if you're doing like product shots, it's like, okay, nail the lighting.
Yeah,
and, like,
product shots are like,
make it consistent. I'm just like,
yeah,
I can't even process how you would like
well,
find that enjoyable.
I have this saying, it's like, I do what I don't like so that I can do what I do like. And that's like, you know, any job. Like I really don't like bookkeeping, but there's also some things I photograph where it's like, yeah, I'll do this. And I don't know. For some people that's like the weddings, which I don't get. If you don't like photographing weddings, like why the hell would you?
Then don't do it.
Like that's someone's special day.
Because there's 200 other wedding photographers in Saskatchewan. 300. Wait, in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan?
I think it's like Saskatoon area.
Oh my goodness.
Like
That's
no
crazy.
joke. But yeah, it's like, yeah, like I don't know. The whole both sides of the industry are like very different, and I think, I don't know, to get into one or the other, like that's the other thing is like, I think we talked about this earlier, even today.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to do just one thing, I know I would get bored,
Mm-hmm.
which is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you feel that for yourself? Like you get in your wedding season mode, and at the end you're tired. You're happy and grateful, but
Mhm.
tired. Or
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, especially after last year, I was like,
are you okay
loved it.
sharing how many?
oh yeah, I did like 33 last year.
Wow.
So within like 6-7 months. So it was intense. Plus like grad shoots and engagement shoots and stuff. I don't know. It was a pretty insane year. Like very not typical for me, but it was awesome, and I feel so blessed. But yeah, I was so worn out. I did have an assistant helping me with some admin stuff last year, but in a way that was almost more work. Having someone
Trying
try
to
and
train
help
somebody.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, training them when you need them is
Mhm.
like the hardest, because
Mhm.
it's like it gets you so behind.
Yeah, and if they made a mistake, then I was like, which he did maybe, but it's okay. He's an awesome person. But
What's his
yeah, there was a
name?
couple mistakes made, and then I was like,
It's your reputation, right?
yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
22 and an assistant. Amazing. 21 and an assistant.
Yeah.
20. You would have been 20. Good for
I
you.
would have been 20. Yeah, no, 21.
Okay.
Turned
Yeah.
21 in May.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Good for you. That's amazing. So I guess there's two different ways I'd like to go with this conversation. We were talking about you sometimes you do the things that you don't want to do so that you can do the things that you do want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not suggesting that you don't love what you do, but you also do a lot of travel in the off season, like when you're not shooting weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like an agenda for that as as far as professional development at all, or is it partially just to decompress and unwind?
Okay, do you guys know anything about the Enneagram? Have you ever taken a... I know
You
we've talked
told me about this.
because-
You sent me the link and I didn't do it.
Shoot. Do you know anything about Enneagram?
No.
No.
Tell
Okay.
us.
Okay. So Enneagram, it's a personality test or like typing situation, and it says it's like there's 9 numbers, and supposedly each person falls within like one number, and the number represents what your motivation is or like what you're driven by. So like a 2, they're like called the helper, so they're like driven by like helping people, and the 4 is like the artist, so you're driven by like just this need to like express yourself. And 3, which is when I've taken the test, it says that's what I am, is driven by like achievements. So even when I'm traveling, in the back of my mind I'm always like, okay, what can I do that's gonna help me like grow in some sort of area and like check off this list of ways I can grow and like develop as a person. So I'm very bad at going on a trip and just enjoying myself. I'm always like thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I shoot? What can I fill this time with in order to grow in some way, which is an interesting way of thinking, but also a little bit stressful because then if I don't see that I've grown or like accomplished something in this time, then I feel like I failed. I don't know.
Like, does it
It's
cause
like
you
really
like
intense,
major guilt
but
or what?
What?
Like, what kind of feelings do you feel if you?
Yeah, just that like, oh, I wasted my time, and you only get so much time in life. So I don't know. Sorry, that's getting really intense.
No, I'm totally.
It's just like how I process things, and so sometimes I'm a little bit jealous when people can just go on a trip and just relax and feel okay.
Are
and chill
you
at the
are you
beach.
going into these things with an expectation for the type of thing that you want to achieve, or are you going in being like, okay, what can I do here?
I don't know. I think it depends. Like I was just in Japan for 6 weeks, and that was the first time I took a trip where like I didn't know anyone. I was just like, I feel like I'm supposed to go and just see what happens and trust my intuition, which is very hard for me to do, but I did it and it was awesome. And so many doors were closed photography-wise. Like I had like 3 cameras break, a bunch of my film didn't turn out. Like the connections I had made there that were related to photography, like those doors were just closed. So I was like, okay, does this mean this trip is like a failure? Like because I didn't accomplish what I had in the back of my mind to do as far as like grow in my portfolio and stuff. But I realized like, no, there's so much other value you can gain from like, that I can gain from this experience. It doesn't need to be about like seeing growth in my portfolio in a certain way. I don't know.
So what was it that you grew? Like what made you grow? Like you said, it was a success.
Yeah.
Well, what parts of it?
I think just the lessons I learned about letting go of that need to plan and a little bit of that need to like accomplish certain things, and just learning about trust and trust in the process and trust that when you are like focusing on something in your life, like subconsciously, that those things will come to be. Sorry, this is getting it's getting so intense, but yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm liking where you're going. I like this. This is exactly like we have so many conversations, even the ones I've had with you. We talk about values and like motivations and like I'm so into like figuring out what makes me tick. Like I'm very interested in like hearing that part of you like really is interesting.
I would like to know if part of it isn't just even a moment to reflect on, like, I'll just tell you about me. Like, so my wife and I were running down by the river a little while ago.
Yeah.
And we ran 10K, and we started from our house and we ended from our house, and we ran the riverbank the entire time. And it felt so nice. And like for a moment, I just thought like, not everybody gets to do this. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can run 10K. Not everybody has the ability to start and stop at their house, like, and be so close to such a beautiful scenery to do this in, or have the time available to them to do this. There's many limiting factors to what I'm doing right now. And just even being able to sort of take the moment to appreciate the activity that we were in, like helped me better appreciate all of the days and all of the insignificant moments in my life. That's just like, it's just part of the grind. It's part of the grind. It's part of the grind. So I can do something like that a lot of people would be like, well, I don't find that to be very significant. But for me it is. And for me it's like that moment to just be able to reflect and be like, it feels nice being able to live so close, be able to do this activity, have the time and do it with somebody that I love, be able to do all of that. That's like, it feels good. So like for me, like that was like the accomplishment and almost like the feeling of achievement came from almost not even the activity in itself, because I wouldn't go around bragging to people that I ran 10K, but internally it's just that feeling that
did it super fast.
Yeah, I just killed it. But,
such long legs.
Yeah, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just that moment to be able to appreciate the fact that I was there and that I was doing it. And everything that, like, all the more insignificant moments that had to happen in order for this bigger thing to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would assume that there's moments like that when you're like, I'm in Japan. Like, who goes to Japan? Like, I'm sure not a lot of your friends that you graduated from high school with have been to Japan. Unless it's on, like, some sort of, like, school trip or something, but...
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to get better at, just enjoying things in real, like
intrinsic reward versus like a feedback reward, like.
Yeah. I think, and that's what I'm trying to focus on a little bit more in life. And something that I do think that I did learn when I was in Japan is that, even if I don't see like a direct result, it's okay. Sorry guys, I'm like, I feel like diving deep into my brain right now in a like way that I'm not able to like communicate it yet. So
we're doing it. We're decompressing our brain.
What did you just say?
I said we're doing it. We're decompressing. We're dissecting your thoughts.
Yeah.
No, this is great. Like, I think it's, obviously, you're the same age as my niece, which is insane. So there's a couple intersects, but there isn't a ton. So it's really interesting to hear your thoughts on some of this stuff because it's a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
Before we even started, you were flipping through the book and saying, sort of mentioned to Matt, like, wouldn't it be cool? Like, I forget exactly what you said, but something along the lines of like,
be a famous photographer.
To be a famous photographer.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what defines a famous photographer for you?
I mean, I think it's being known, being established in like a worldwide sense. I think that's big. But also when I say that, like being a famous photographer, I think I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be a creative business person versus an artist and like a photographer that's creating art, and how like I currently, like right now, I run a business and I do like bookkeeping and admin, and I'm working for clients that have like specific desires, whereas an artist and someone that uses their photography to create art just gets to observe the world and create something from that out of no sort of like goal, or like I'm sure they have goals, but it's not necessarily like for a client. It's just the ability to like express what they see or like what they want to, and just make it and like put it out there and have people appreciate it. And I'm just like, I think that would be really cool to be able to do that, Like what if you never had anyone emailing you and like asking you to like, oh, I want this specific thing, blah, blah, blah. What if you just got to like take pictures and put it in a gallery and people like just enjoyed it and it brought them joy, or it like challenged their way of thinking? I don't know. I just think that would be really cool. Do you agree? Maybe not. Maybe you enjoy the like.
Well, I mean, that's like, its own. I know what you're saying. I think it's its own conversation. Like, so, I'll share about a really good friend of mine. Her name's Tammy Campbell, and she's a painter or artist. She does paint. She makes the weirdest things you'd ever see. Like, it's like, I should show you actually after we're done. So some of her works, like, there's some of them are like very large, some of them are smaller, like way bigger than that, and some of them are like this big.
Yeah.
They look like bubble wrap around cardboard or masking tape around, like it looks like a packaged piece of packaging, like bubble wrap and saran wrap and like tarps and stuff, except they're made with paint.
Yeah.
Like she made this one thing. So I know her because I photograph her artwork for like art documentation, because she has a dealer in New York, and so everything she makes and she sends to shows, or they go to this art dealership, and so they sell for her. This tarp had like, and so it wasn't a tarp, it just looked exactly like a tarp. And so when you see it, you would be like, that's a tarp. It's not a tarp, it's paint.
It's art.
Yeah, she used paint to make a 3D tarp. And like, I think it was $2,000 worth of paint to make it. Like, because you had to make it and then fold it up. And it's like the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And like, it's just a different life. And it's like, would I want to be that? And I think the reason I do photography is I like to be around people. Like I have a motive why I do it. Like, and it feels really good to give people images and like get the feedback. Very like, I like praise. So it's like that's why I don't like photographing the sunset, Because like no one cares. Like the sun can't be like, oh, thank you. It's the best I've looked. No, it's like I'll photograph someone's family and then they'll put it online and like they'll be like, that was the best photo I've ever had of myself or something. I'm like, yes.
But what if you were creating art and it in a way that was still like interacting with people?
I think that's kind of like the actual making is like the prints on the walls here is my like, that might be my art. Because like often when I think of photography, I feel like I'm very much of a craftsman. Like I'm doing a craft. I'm photographing people kissing on a wedding day.
Yeah.
Or I'm photographing families with their kids.
Yeah.
I'm kind of making a time capsule. And I think like, I don't know, like to make art, like I think it's just like you almost have to have that motive, like this lady who makes these bubble wrap things. Like she's made thousands of these things.
Yeah.
She's actually like doing more of the same thing. Like she's not doing different things. Like it's very like, I don't know, it's a very narrow road she walks on her creativity. And it's like, and she'd be the first to admit it. Cause like I've worked with her for like 4 years now and it's like, they're all different and they're all the same, you know, like, or they're, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But it's cool to be able to, I don't know, have such a specific point of view and create something that's, I don't know, it's not, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
well, like just
I'm just learning that I'm learning that I do, really admire people that are able to do that. Because sometimes I question like, okay, how much of my point of view am I actually allowed to inject into like photographing a wedding? Because it's not about really my point of view. It's about documentation and creating something really lovely that these people are gonna remember and cherish forever. But it's not, I can't just go in there and like, you know, see like the drunk uncle and get really like fascinated by like how he's acting and like document him in a very like artistic way, because that's not my purpose in that moment, you know? So I think it's cool that like artists are able to like see something that they find really fascinating, latch onto that idea and just explore that and like allow their brain to like create something. And then, you know, if you're like well known, like these people in this book, like you don't have to stress about if you're gonna be able to financially provide for yourself or blah, or like your family or blah blah blah, because people know your name and they're like appreciate your point of view for what it is and who you are, and you can just put it out there and people are like, good job. I don't know, I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, like, and just so you know, I totally respect the artistic world and like I was at the Winnipeg Art Gallery in October, and they had this thing with this one photographer, and he made the most incredible photographs I've ever seen. They were huge prints, and they were of like, one was like a garbage dump, one was a mine. Yeah. It was kind of like the human scars on the earth, kind of like that was sort of the gist of it. Like one was a parking lot. It was a really cool photograph because it was like, it was hard to imagine a parking lot so big and packed with cars. I think it was like at an assembly, like at a vehicle, manufacturing plant, but it was like that. I love it. It's like, I don't know. I don't think I could be that person, or I don't want to, but I like to enjoy those things.
But you can appreciate it.
Very much, yeah. Like it's not hard for me to like look at it, like be like, I don't know if I would have seen it that way. Yeah. Like it actually inspires me quite a bit, but I don't know. What about the fame part? Is it that you'd have security? Like I know.
Ooh, yeah, probably actually. I think that's a big thing though, isn't it? Like you want to feel secure in like what you're doing. I don't know. Unknowns are pretty scary, especially if you're doing something that you're like passionate about. You're like, what if people reject it? What if I'm not able to like care for my basic needs with this, you know?
I feel like that can be a total double-edged sword too. I've read about it and I've experienced it, as you guys have. Some of your favorite musical artists, for example, will do something in their first album that's insane or incredible, and it creates a following and it sort of creates like a cultural movement, and they can never replicate that again. And I think part of it has to do with something that comes with the conservative, like there's an added level of people becoming more conservative around what they're going to do next, because first off, now they have a reputation, and they have to uphold that reputation. And I think everybody, or people that hit that level, are worried about having their next thing not be to the same caliber as their last thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then people become a lot more protective around what they produce or what they let out. And I think that can be really counterproductive in the pursuit of expressing yourself creatively overall. And I don't know, you see that all the time. And I could see that being like, all of a sudden it's like heavy as the crown, or heavy as the head that wears the crown. And now people are like, oh, I don't know. But then there's some artists that just do like literally whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Like Kanye West just did like a church service or something like that.
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an actual church service?
Kind of. I don't know. I actually didn't watch it.
Or as
but
an
I heard
album.
it was cool.
What's that?
Like as an album or like an event?
Like a spectacle.
At Coachella.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like for Easter.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great example of can do whatever he wants because he's got the security.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but he probably does feel a significant amount of pressure.
Oh, for
to
sure.
like create certain things. Because even with his like fashion line, like Yeezy or whatever it's called, one year he just like canceled the show because he was like, didn't feel good enough about it or something. So.
Well, I mean, I think there's micro versions of this happening all the time. Like, let's say you post a photograph on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you get X amount of likes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like way beyond, and then you're like, to post another photo.
Yeah.
Likely won't get the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. What does that do to you?
I try to just let that go. I don't know. Especially when it comes to Instagram, it's like the algorithm just does what it wants to do. Like, I don't know. I think I'm trying to care less about Instagram and like what my current audience, like how they respond or react to what I post, because I want to create something and make something for myself, and I'm trying to do that a little bit more, like focus more on that versus like for this virtual audience. So, but yeah, it does, of course it affects, like if you see someone respond really well to, or people respond really well to one post versus the other, you're not, even if you liked the other picture better or you thought it was a more beautiful photo, it's like you're gonna still be affected like by that, and like it's gonna manipulate a little bit, I think, at least for me, of like, yeah, what I do choose to put out on the internet. But
so what do you think about like Instagram, like the Instagram world within regards to photography in general? Everyone's become a photographer now. I'm assuming some touch-ups on a computer that can take hours to a photo by an untrained eye could be looked at in the same regard as somebody that's swiping through filters.
mm-hmm.
And the masses can't discern the difference either way and will like both or neither or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering, like, where do you think this world is going as far as professional photography? Is the bar continuing to lower in your mind, or what's going on?
Honestly, I think if anything, it's like maybe the bar's getting higher for photography, because we consume so much of it now, and like scrolling through your Instagram feed, you are like consuming so many pictures, and I think people's eyes are getting trained actually to see like better pictures almost, because, or like good content. Well, okay, not always good content, but I think people can see the difference between like a good professional photo versus like something that's just a bad photo. And I'm not saying like gear wise, like I'm not comparing like an iPhone picture to like a DSLR picture, but just even like what that photo is and how it was captured and how it was taken, because we're consuming so much that you're able to like pick up like what's good. I don't know, does that make sense? A little bit.
I kind of have this like, just on the industry, like a feeling like, I remember just like anytime things get a little easier, the people who don't like it usually don't like it because they're like, that was their only advantage, let's say. So with cameras now, like I think we've talked about this a few times, but like, to be honest, like if a phone can take a really great photograph, and like they're getting really hard for me to even tell the difference of like from my phone on an Instagram shot, sometimes I can't tell if it's a DSLR or an iPhone.
Yeah.
Just the way it can blur the background, and I'm just kind of like, maybe that's not acceptable for like a corporate billboard or something like that. But like the idea of like good or bad photos, like to me it's just like, that should be kind of like the only way content is sort of weighed, is like, is it good or is it bad? It's not, is it pro or not?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And I think with like tech getting better and better, like I think things are just starting. Like I think there's going to be a lot of change still in the next decade. Like like what your phone can do will soon get into the cameras, like, which I think will open up so many. Like you're talking about like a filter versus like a 3-hour edit. Like I'm all for that. Like if it can make it easier and faster, it's like great. It makes it. You're talking about the bar, and it's like if it can be easier for like other people to get their photos up better, it's like, it's not bad for anyone except someone who only has that as leverage for making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, I like that part of the industry. I like that part of technology, and I like that part of creativity. Like, just moving barriers out of the way for people. Like it should just be like, I don't know. Tools should just make it easier for people to make something beautiful. And I don't know. I'm like all for that kind of movement. And like anyone who says that sucks, like, well, they will go out of business because they don't understand value, I guess. I don't know.
But I think because of the increase of importance in like a virtual visual identity, I think that there is more of a need or desire for like good content, and therefore like photographers, because even like when I'm doing like graduation portraits, I know that they want good pictures for their Instagram, you know? And if there's like a small brand that's starting, like they want good content and someone that can create something, design something, and photograph something, because they see the importance of that like virtual visual identity. So I don't know, I think that there's only going to be like more demand for photographers that know what they're doing. Maybe not I don't know, in like all aspects, but yeah.
I think like when you say the word good content, like my mind goes to what's natural, or how can you capture the human experience in a moment. And I think like we've had this conversation so many times where it's like, if you strip out all the technical aspects of photography and just end up with, you know, somebody that's a good entertainer and somebody that can bring people's guards down and make people feel comfortable and make people start to laugh. If the photos can just be captured, if those moments can just be captured and technology can handle the lighting and the balance and those things, I think professional photography, I have a thought that it'll sort of move in that direction, where if you can be personable and make people feel comfortable and put people in a good mood, you're going to naturally get better photos, because you're going to be able to get people out of that same rhythm that we were in when we started the podcast, or when we started the show, right?
Yeah.
Like we're shooting the shit, and then all of a sudden it's like, now we're starting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I would almost say that's like what makes, like that's always made the better photographers better, is like the way they can open people up.
Yeah.
Like, you get, I think, I would say the average level of photography is just going like crazy, and like things like prompt cards and all these things. Like I went back and looked at workshop notes I took from 2012 or something, and they had prompts. They had 8 prompts And I was like, I used those 8 prompts for like every wedding that summer, and like that actually made my work more diverse. And now it's like hundreds of prompts. And if you think of a prompt, it's really just a way to open a person.
Yeah.
Explain that. I don't know what a prompt is.
A prompt, literally a prompt is say cheese. That's a bad prompt. I shouldn't say it's a bad prompt. It works really well with kids still. So, but it's like you do something for someone to react, and when they react, you get the reaction.
Okay.
That's what a prompt is. So like now they're more complicated. I mean, at the end of the day, if you still pose people together and have them do something.
You have hundreds of prompts? Wow, I need to up my game here.
Well, no, I bought a pack. I should show you. They're like cards. They're that unposed field guide or something like that.
Okay.
There's like 100 of them
Yeah.
now. Everybody's selling prompts, and it's like, at the end of the day, whatever. It's kind of like, if you're good with people, like if you're charming or disarming, like
Yeah.
that will make the difference, I think. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
like you can, like someone who can just kind of laugh at themselves, I think
Yeah.
does well, or someone who's very like emotional can do really well. Like,
Yeah. My favorite feedback that I get from clients like after a shoot is, you made us feel so comfortable, like thank you, that was way easier than we thought it would be, like we just enjoyed spending time with you. And we're like, awesome. Like, you know, I don't know, I feel like that is what makes better photos. Because it's like, what is a photographer? Is a photographer someone that knows how to use a camera, or is a photographer someone that's dealing with like emotion and, I don't know, the human experience or something?
Well, I think a portrait photographer, I read the best will be the people who work with getting that, opening people up or whatever. Like, I think what you said is really important, like going forward, is like people talk about you because the way you made them feel, like it's, and the way their friends talk about them with what they post online. But it's like this, like, we've talked about this before. It's like, I'm like, oh, people hire me because I'm like, I get really sharp photos and the color's really good and blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah. I asked a bunch of my clients to give me reviews for my new website, and I was like, oh, I was like hanging out with a friend. Oh, I was like hanging out with a friend. I was like, oh, they like, okay, I'm flattered. I'm like, but like, and I think I was totally like, yeah, but the photos are really sharp and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. Like, and now I'm kind of like getting out of my own head of like, they enjoyed the actual experience. And while one of my clients, they just got engaged. I photographed them in November, and they said that first photo shoot. She said the photo shoot was like one of her most favorite memories of her life. She was like 21 years old.
That's cool.
Like the experience, and I was like, I should maybe dig in that a little bit. I don't know. But you said that's like the biggest or the most common
I'd say so,
feedback for you.
I mean, what you're saying, I guess how you made someone feel. I mean, that's like, it's really important, even with like any interaction you have, especially if it's, I don't know, such a like emotional moment for this client. It's like, yeah, it's super important, and I think that's probably the thing that affects them most. Hey, I don't know, maybe.
I know real, like, I know doing those kind of things, like, they'll give real smiles, and real smiles are always like the best. You can totally tell. I think our brains are like, I believe our brains are, I know our brains are like wired to like see like a real smile.
Like eyes, it's in the eyes, right? Like I squint when I really smile, like I squint, but you can just see it in my eyes when I'm smiling for real versus like.
Yeah. Me too, probably.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I wish I was funnier, so I could like make people laugh a little bit easier. But it's okay, I'm working on that. Maybe.
Self-deprecation.
I'm laughing. Yeah, self-deprecation.
Yeah. That works usually, actually.
Totally. That brings down guards.
Yeah, well, you have a soft voice, which is like, I'm sure just like, I bet your
calms everybody down.
You have very romantic photos, like when I think about it. Not like you have a range of expressions, but like I really struggle with like those. I don't know. Maybe I like just a deep, like not somber, but like almost like a peaceful shot. I don't get a lot of those, and maybe it's because like I don't know. Maybe that says something about me, or maybe it's just who I am, or I don't know.
But it's, I mean, that's part of your style though. Like I'm drawn to like a certain style, you're drawn to a certain style, and it's not necessarily because we like have seen that and like, oh, it's cool. It's also like a reflection of your personality type when you're shooting too, right? So I don't think it's one way's better, one way's not. I don't know. I think that's why in my personal work, I focus so much on female portraiture, because I like those quiet, soft, still moments, and connecting with that individual that I can relate to and capture in a very still, serene moment is it's an expression of my personality that I get to put on this other person, and I like experimenting with that and playing with that and in my personal work. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I want to ask you a question. We've been talking about experience for people like the photography experience. What about in your world where you're working, you're providing service, but are you finding that's fully true in your world? You sitting down with your client is somehow that is the most of what you give? You're giving the service, and if that's the same as anybody else, there's some, the magic is those moments with you as their guide, I guess, to marketing.
Yeah, so like you guys, there's a list of expected deliverables in my world and things that must be done. However, I guess one difference is I work with a lot of the same businesses over and over again. So we can nail a lot of those deliverables, and also tactics change, things change, mediums change. The way that you communicate online can change. And with that then requires new ideas. And I think the one thing that I've had to learn and adapt to be able to continue to do what I do is to, first off, listen, be empathetic towards the challenges and struggles, and try and get into the mindset of the person that I'm working with or the people that I'm working with. And then to have open conversations about my thought process, explaining to people how I think and how I come to the conclusions that I'm coming to in a really authentic way, I think is the reason why my clients continue to pay for my services. It's not just the deliverables. If it's always the deliverables, you will always be held to, you will always be evaluated on things like
price,
timeliness, responsiveness, and price. And although those things are important, you guys are entrepreneurs, you know that at the end of the day you can't eliminate those things completely, but you want to change the conversation. And I don't want my value to be wrapped up in those three things. I want it to be wrapped up in my ideas and my ability to align myself and my thinking with my clients, but also to be able to give them the other side of the coin, because I don't have the same pressures that they do. So although I can be empathetic towards those things, I don't have to just, agree with them. I can give them the other side. So definitely what my retainer agreements end up looking like 18 months after I've started doing business with a new company completely changes from what it was when we started. Some activities remain the same, but most of it has changed. And the value.
That's because you've solved immediate needs.
Right.
You can't make a website. You don't need to make a website every 16 months or 18 months.
Right. Yeah.
You make the website once, and then it's.
Yeah, and to be able to convey all of that to a brand new business, it's hard. I think there's a level of trust that needs to be built, and that's only done over a period of time. So, yeah, I think there's definitely some similarities. It's just it's sometimes a longer game, just because I'm dealing with these people for years instead of a day or maybe a couple sessions or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This was fast. We flowed.
Way too fast.
What'd you think?
I thought it was cool.
Right on.
Where can people find you?
Oh, on the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah. At Nicole Marie Ens, ENS, or at nicole.marie.photo, or www.nicolemariephotography.co.
We've also talked about this a bunch. Do you feel like your website is an important part of your communication or marketing at all, or is it all through social media now?
I think Instagram's way more important for the clients I seem to be booking and working with.
And what age range, or like who are your clients?
For weddings, like my age to like 30ish is probably my clientele. And I don't know, it's just everyone's on Instagram, or like not everyone, but
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but you're right.
But I think having a professional website and something that really draws you in, that's the I think that's like a big thing that's going to lead them to actually book.
It's almost like they find you on Instagram, they like your stuff, and then it's like one of those check marks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're professional as well.
Yeah, because I feel like Instagram's a little sneak at your portfolio. It's a chance to get to know who this person is. But the website, it's like, that's where I get to like really curate what I want to communicate. Because feed posts are like constant, you need to keep them coming, right? But website, it's like, that's there, that's like my about, that's my feature pictures that I want to share and communicate as like my style. So I think it's really important to like think that through and have something that's very appealing and like draw someone in. I don't know. Would you agree? Maybe?
Yeah. Like it's the storefront. It's the, I don't know. What's the word? Artifact. Like in marketing, there's, someone put it this way. It's like good marketing is like everything until they actually work with you. So you better like also deliver what you say you're going to deliver, else you'll never get referrals. But like, yeah, it's like Instagram, the website. It's like, especially for what we're asking for like photography, it's like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It's like, you know, probably the most high paid service someone would ever buy, like ever.
Yeah.
I can't think of single service providers like in that price range, like
Blank jobs.
what?
Whatever. Plastic surgery.
Yeah, like literally, and even yeah, all those things.
All those things.
But it's like if you have all the pieces, you kind of like, I kind of like think of it like you're trying to tip someone. It's like, you know, wherever you're at, like there's people like that are maybe like in line. Like a lot of people who don't book me, like I always ask people, they're like, yeah, we booked with Nicole Marie. I'm like, great, she's incredible. And so like, you know, it's like if they're like, and if the price range is very similar and the like the specs are the same, what, you know, you're tipping people certain ways. And like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm like, a person should rely on who they are after that to like, people, I should be me, and the people who will tip my way will like me the most.
Yeah,
and the people who don't tip my way and tip your way or whoever's, I don't know.
But even like with my age and the fact that I started shooting young, I always felt like I needed to like have my website appear very like professional and put together, because there's like that people will judge you by your age and your youth, right?
And you are ahead of your time.
It's gonna get easier. It's gonna get easier as you go.
Yeah. Awesome.
This was great.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming and
thank you guys.
joining us.
This was fun.
Yeah. It's
Awesome.
always too short, but
There's more for next time. Great.
Yeah.